For privacy reasons, names and places have been changed. This story is inspired by true events.
On the morning of July 16, 2005, 13-year-old Glen Murphy, a second-class scout, lagged behind his Boy Scout patrol during a waterfall badge hike at Ricketts Glen State Park, PA. He was expected to catch up at the next junction. He never did. Despite an immediate and extensive search operation that scoured every treacherous crevice and churning pool of the Ganoga Falls Loop, Glen Murphy vanished without a trace. For 12 agonizing years, his family and Scoutmaster Priya Haldar endured unbearable uncertainty, every passing season bringing fresh grief and unanswered questions. Then, in 2017, a small aluminum whistle, etched with minute iron stains, was discovered wedged in moss beside a remote plunge pool. This pivotal discovery, and the meticulous efforts of park ranger Tomas Rivera and cave diver Jules Minnow Quan, would finally unlock the park's darkest secret. This is the complete investigation into what happened to Glen Murphy. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy this content, consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Now let's continue. In the year 2005, Ricketts Glen State Park in Pennsylvania presented a breathtaking tableau of natural beauty, a landscape carved by ancient forces and adorned with 21 named waterfalls. Its trails, particularly the challenging Ganoga Falls Loop, drew thousands seeking both adventure and serenity. Yet beneath the veneer of pristine wilderness lay an inherent unpredictability, a raw power that could transform a scenic hike into a perilous ordeal. It was within this majestic, yet potentially treacherous, environment that a seemingly ordinary outing would take a devastating turn. 13-year-old Glen Murphy, a second-class scout, embodied the youthful enthusiasm characteristic of his age. Bright-eyed and energetic, Glen was deeply engaged in the traditions and challenges of scouting, finding particular joy in outdoor pursuits. His passion for the natural world and his eagerness to earn new badges fueled his participation in a Boy Scout waterfall badge hike, an event designed to test endurance and appreciation for the park's iconic features. On a crisp autumn afternoon, Glen joined his patrol on the Ganoga Falls Loop. The objective was clear: navigate the demanding terrain, identify various waterfalls, and demonstrate the skills necessary to earn the coveted badge. The patrol, a group of boys similar in age, moved with the usual youthful exuberance, their chatter echoing against the roar of the cascading water. As they progressed, the group naturally began to spread out, a common occurrence on such trails where varying fitness levels and individual curiosities led to momentary separations. At one particular junction, where the path diverged and then reconvened, the scouts scattered, each momentarily focused on their own pace or a point of interest. It was at this crucial juncture that Glen Murphy lagged behind. Whether distracted by a fallen leaf, slowed by a tricky patch of trail, or simply taking a moment to catch his breath, his separation from the main group was initially perceived as nothing out of the ordinary. The expectation was that he would quickly catch up, rejoining his fellow scouts as the trail converged. However, as minutes stretched into a quarter of an hour, and then longer, the casual assumption began to fray. The patrol leader, then Scoutmaster Priya Haldar, conducted a quick head count. Glen was not present. A call-out, initially lighthearted, grew increasingly urgent. The shouts of Glen became sharper, laced with a growing apprehension. The dawning horror of his absence began to settle over the group and their leader. Glen Murphy had vanished. The alarm, once confirmed, triggered an immediate and frantic response within Ricketts Glen State Park. Scoutmaster Priya Haldar, her earlier apprehension now solidified into grim determination, immediately rallied the remaining scouts and initiated a systematic sweep of their immediate vicinity, their youthful energy now channeled into a desperate search for their missing comrade. Simultaneously, the park's official machinery began to grind into action, led by Park Ranger Tomas Rivera, a veteran of countless search and rescue operations within Ricketts Glen. Rivera quickly established a command center, mobilizing park staff and coordinating with state police. Within hours, the quiet trails of Ganoga Falls Loop were transformed into a hive of activity. Volunteers, other scout troops from neighboring districts, local emergency services, and K-9 units converged on the park. The search expanded rapidly, fanning out from the last known point of Declan's presence. Every crevice, every thicket, every inch of the trail and its immediate surroundings was meticulously combed. Helicopters with thermal imaging capabilities scanned the dense canopy from above, while ground teams navigated the treacherous terrain below. The very grandeur of Ricketts Glen, with its steep ravines, slick rock faces, and the incessant roar of water, transformed into a formidable adversary for the search teams. Dense rhododendron thickets formed impenetrable walls, obscuring visibility just feet from the main paths. The numerous waterfalls, while beautiful, created slippery conditions and deafening noise, making communication difficult and muffling any potential calls for help. Plunge pools, some deceptively deep, lay hidden beneath the cascades, their cold waters offering little visibility. Searchers battled against the elements, the fading daylight, and the growing sense of dread that accompanied each fruitless hour. Despite the overwhelming human effort and the deployment of every available resource, the unforgiving landscape yielded no definitive answers. No discarded piece of clothing, no scuff mark on the trail, no faint cry for help. The extensive search, which stretched over several days and covered hundreds of acres, failed to uncover a single, tangible clue regarding Declan Murphy's fate. The initial investigation concluded with the agonizing reality that a 13-year-old boy had vanished without a trace, leaving behind only unanswered questions and a deepening mystery. The initial, desperate urgency of the search for Declan Murphy could not be sustained indefinitely. As days bled into weeks, then months, the intense mobilization of resources inevitably waned. Volunteers dwindled, K-9 units moved on, and helicopters ceased their daily passes. What began as a massive search and rescue operation transitioned into a grim missing person investigation. Without new leads or a single piece of evidence, the case slowly cooled, initial fervor replaced by somber resignation. Official files remained open, but active pursuit faded into periodic review, a cold case haunting local authorities. For Declan's family, the cessation of the active search brought no end to their agony. Instead, it ushered in a new, more insidious torment. The absence of a body meant no closure, leaving them suspended in an unbearable limbo between hope and despair. Every distant siren, every knock, held the potential for news, yet none ever came. The scouting community, too, grappled with the profound impact. Scoutmaster Priya Haldar carried the heavy weight of responsibility, forever questioning if she could have done more. The incident cast a long shadow over Ricketts Glen, transforming a place of natural wonder into a site of enduring sorrow and unanswered questions. The calendar pages turned with cruel indifference. 1 year became 2, then 5, then a full decade. The vibrant memory of 13-year-old Declan Murphy slowly receded from public consciousness, though never from the hearts of those who loved him. His missing person posters, once ubiquitous, faded and peeled, eventually replaced by new concerns. The case, officially designated cold, lay dormant in police archives, a thick file holding nothing but dead ends and the persistent echoes of a tragedy without explanation. 12 years elapsed, a significant portion of a lifetime, with Ricketts Glen continuing its cycles of seasons, the waterfalls roaring on, seemingly holding their secrets close. Yet for all the passage of time, the fundamental questions remained, gnawing at memory and conscience. How could a boy in a supervised group in a popular state park simply vanish without a trace? The Ganoga Falls Loop was well trafficked, the park maintained, yet Declan Murphy had evaporated. Had he suffered an accident, his body concealed by unforgiving terrain and powerful currents. Was foul play involved? An unthinkable scenario in such an idyllic setting. The Park Service, authorities, and community were left with an enduring enigma, a void where a young life had once been, perpetually asking, what truly happened to Declan Murphy? The silence from Ricketts Glen was absolute, a testament to the impenetrable mystery that consumed a young scout. On that fateful day, then, 12 years after Declan Murphy vanished, a discovery was made that shattered the long-standing silence that had settled over Ricketts Glen. The passage of time had dulled the immediate pain for many, transforming a raw tragedy into a distant, unresolved mystery. Yet for those closest to Declan, the wound remained open, a constant ache of uncertainty. It was during a routine inspection of the Ganoga Falls Loop, near the base of one of its less prominent cascades, that a park volunteer noticed something unusual. Nestled deep within a bed of vibrant green moss, clinging to the damp rock face beside the churning waters of a plunge pool, a small, glinting object caught their eye. It was an aluminum whistle, dulled by a decade of exposure to the elements, its surface etched with the subtle marks of water and time. Its design was simple, utilitarian, a common accessory for outdoor enthusiasts, but particularly for those involved in scouting. The volunteer immediately recognized its significance, knowing the long unsolved mystery that haunted this very section of the park. For Park Ranger Tomás Rivera, who had carried the heavy burden of Declan Murphy's disappearance for over a decade, the sight of the recovered whistle was electrifying. The artifact, identical in type to those issued to Boy Scouts, found in such a specific and remote location within the Ganoga Falls Loop, left little room for doubt. This was almost certainly Declan's whistle. The object, small and seemingly insignificant, held the immense weight of a cold case, a tangible link to the missing boy that had been overlooked for so long. The discovery immediately breathed new life into the dormant investigation. The lingering questions that had plagued authorities and Declan's family for 12 agonizing years suddenly felt within reach of an answer. The initial hope, long since faded to a flicker, now flared anew, tempered with a cautious scrutiny born of past disappointments. Every previous assumption, every dead-end theory, now stood poised for re-evaluation under the harsh light of this new, concrete evidence. The whistle represented the first real promise of answers, offering a pathway into the impenetrable mystery that the park had guarded so fiercely. Its forensic potential was immense, a silent witness finally emerging from the wilderness to tell its story. The finding of Declan Murphy's whistle, 12 years after his disappearance, acted as a powerful catalyst, ripping the cold case file from the dusty archives and thrusting it back into the active investigative spotlight. For the Pennsylvania State Police and Ricketts Glen Park authorities, the discovery was both a vindication of persistent hope and a stark reminder of the long unanswered questions. Declan's missing person file, once a symbol of defeat, now represented a renewed opportunity for justice and closure. Park Ranger Tomás Rivera, whose dedication to the case had never truly waned, was instrumental in spearheading this reactivated investigation, bringing his intimate knowledge of the park and the initial search efforts to the forefront. The aluminum whistle, the first tangible piece of evidence in over a decade, became the immediate focus of intense forensic scrutiny. Transferred to a state police laboratory, forensic technicians meticulously examined its surface for any residual DNA, fingerprints, or microscopic fibers that might have survived the years of exposure. Every scratch, every speck of corrosion was documented and analyzed. The hope was to find a unique identifier, something that could definitively link it to Declan, or perhaps to another individual who might have come into contact with it. Initial findings confirmed the whistle's age and material composition were consistent with the period of Declan's disappearance and standard scouting equipment, reinforcing its potential connection. With the whistle in hand, Investigators, led by Ranger Rivera, returned to the Ganoga Falls Loop. The area around the plunge pool where the whistle was found underwent an even more rigorous examination than the initial search 12 years prior. New technologies and refined forensic techniques allowed for a more precise analysis of the terrain, water flow, and potential debris fields. Divers scoured the plunge pool's depths, and ground teams meticulously sifted through sediment and vegetation along the banks. The whistle's location, lodged in moss beside the pool, all suggested it had either been dropped there or carried by water currents from a nearby point. The presence of this single artifact forced a fundamental reevaluation of all previous theories. Had Glen fallen into the water at that specific location? Was he swept downstream from another point? The original search had assumed a wider dispersal area, but the whistle's concentrated finding narrowed the potential zone of interest significantly. Investigators now had to consider how a small, light object could remain undiscovered for so long, and what that implied about the nature of the immediate environment. The scope of the original search, while extensive, had perhaps overlooked a critical, hidden detail. Despite the renewed vigor and the tangible clue, the fundamental question persisted, echoing through the revitalized investigation. How did Glen's whistle end up precisely there? And what, if anything, did its silent presence truly reveal about his ultimate fate? The whistle offered a crucial starting point, but the full narrative of Glen Murphy's disappearance remained elusive, hidden somewhere within the unforgiving landscape of Ricketts Glen. The initial forensic examination of Glen Murphy's whistle yielded more than just confirmation of its age and material. It provided a microscopic clue that would fundamentally alter the trajectory of the investigation. Under powerful magnification, forensic technicians observed minute iron stains embedded within the aluminum surface. These were not random flecks of rust but distinct, almost imperceptible patterns, suggestive of prolonged contact with specific iron compounds. This detail, easily overlooked, became the linchpin of the renewed inquiry. Further analysis, conducted with painstaking precision, revealed that these unique iron stains precisely matched the composition of a single footbridge anchor located upstream, within the very Ganoga Falls Loop where Glen had disappeared. This was a critical breakthrough, establishing a concrete, physical link between the whistle and a fixed point in the park. It indicated that the whistle had, at some point, come into direct or indirect contact with this specific anchor, before being carried downstream to where it was ultimately discovered. The question then shifted from if the whistle was Glen's to how it traveled, and what that journey might reveal. To unravel this complex hydrological puzzle, investigators enlisted the specialized expertise of Jules Quan, a renowned cave diver and hydrologist, affectionately known as Minnow for her uncanny ability to navigate confined underwater spaces. Quan's unique skill set extended beyond diving. She possessed a profound understanding of water dynamics, current patterns, and the intricate ways in which objects could be transported and deposited within turbulent aquatic environments. Her task was to map the precise path the whistle could have taken from the footbridge anchor to the plunge pool, considering the powerful and unpredictable forces of the falls. Quan's methodology was meticulous. She deployed sophisticated current meters and dye tracers, studying the flow rates, eddies, and hydraulic jumps around the identified footbridge and downstream. She analyzed the historical water levels and seasonal variations, reconstructing the most probable conditions from 12 years prior. Her work involved repeated dives and observations, tracing the subtle, often counterintuitive, eddy patterns created by the cascading water and the complex rock formations. She recognized that a small, light object like a whistle might not simply follow the main current but could be caught in swirling vortexes, pushed into unexpected nooks, or even held in place for extended periods before being dislodged. It was during one of these exhaustive hydrological surveys, following a particularly strong countercurrent that peeled away from the main flow near the footbridge. That Quan's keen eye registered an anomaly. The eddy pattern, instead of dissipating, consistently directed water towards a section of the rock face that appeared solid, yet held a subtle, almost imperceptible gap. Further investigation, requiring a careful breach of the water curtain, exposed a hidden crawl space, previously unknown or deemed inaccessible. Concealed behind a relentless sheet of falling water, a dark, narrow opening beckoned, offering a shocking new direction for the investigation into Declan Murphy's disappearance. The hidden crawl space, exposed by Jules Quan's meticulous hydrological survey, presented a daunting new frontier for the investigation into Declan Murphy's disappearance. Concealed for 12 years behind the relentless curtain of falling water, this dark, narrow opening was finally breached by specialized search teams. The conditions inside were treacherous. Slick rock, near-total darkness, and the echoing roar of Ganoga Falls. Yet, within this secluded chamber, the long-sought truth was finally revealed. Deep within the crawl, tucked into a small recess shielded from the direct force of the water, human remains were discovered, along with fragments of clothing consistent with Boy Scout attire from 2005. Forensic identification confirmed the remains were those of Declan Murphy. The findings within the hidden crawl provided a complete and chilling explanation for how Declan had vanished without a trace for over a decade. It was theorized that after lagging behind his patrol, Declan, perhaps drawn by curiosity or seeking a momentary shelter from the elements, had ventured into the narrow opening. The precise eddy patterns traced by Jules Quan indicated how his whistle, once dislodged, would have been carried from the footbridge anchor into the plunge pool where it was eventually found. Once inside the crawl, the combination of the confined space, slippery surfaces, and the powerful, disorienting noise and spray of the waterfall likely led to a tragic accident, trapping the young scout. The unique hydrology of the falls and the specific, hidden nature of the crawl ensured that no trace of him would be visible from the outside, nor would any sound escape the roaring cascade. For Declan's family, the discovery brought a profound, albeit painful, form of closure after years of agonizing uncertainty. The confirmation of his death, while devastating, finally ended the torturous limbo of not knowing. His parents, who had lived for 12 years with the unanswered question of their son's fate, could at last begin the process of grieving with the knowledge of what had happened. The Boy Scout community and park ranger Tomás Rivera, who had never given up hope, also found a measure of peace in the resolution of the mystery. The tragic case of Declan Murphy led to significant reevaluations of park safety protocols and search methodologies at Ricketts Glen and similar wilderness areas. New procedures were implemented for monitoring and inspecting previously inaccessible areas, particularly those influenced by water flow. Search and rescue training was updated to include advanced hydrological analysis and the potential for hidden spaces. The case underscored the enduring power of forensic science and dedicated investigation, demonstrating how a single, overlooked clue, combined with specialized expertise, could ultimately triumph over years of silence. Declan Murphy's legacy at Ricketts Glen became a testament to persistence, the unseen dangers inherent in even the most beautiful natural landscapes, and the eventual triumph of truth. The falls, while still majestic, now carried a solemn memory, a reminder that nature's beauty can conceal formidable power. Declan's story, once a haunting enigma, became a cautionary tale and a powerful narrative of human determination to uncover what the wilderness had so fiercely guarded.